It's like a rule. Go woke, go broke. Channel 10, the most left-wing of the free-to-air TV channels, runs a show called The Bachelorette. A woman picks a new partner from among several contestants, and for the latest season of this meat market, it decided to go woke, and big time. It even got the ABC interested and excited. Bachelorette Brooke Blurton makes television history as the show's first Indigenous bisexual star. And the taxpayer-funded Conversation website had an academic writing a learned piece about this breakthrough. And Channel 10's preview hyped up that woke angle of probably, in fairness, more about the bisexual angle than the Aboriginal one.
It's time to smash some boundaries.
All my life, people have tried to put me into boxes, categories, label me. And I think you set your own path. Nothing really defines you unless you want it to.
As Brooke takes us into uncharted waters.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to make history?
Yes! Let's do it.
Facing a mansion full of men and women.
This is how I want to fall in love. It's something that I wouldn't compromise. And I am exactly where I'm meant to be.
Now, to be honest, I think this is a bit manufactured. I mean, for instance, Brooke Blurton is out there as an Aboriginal activist. That's fine, her choice, no problem. But I find it interesting that her father is actually English and her mother of Aboriginal and Malaysian heritage. But how woke can you get? An Aboriginal bisexual? I mean, it's just fantastic. So how did it go in the ratings? Joining me on Trending Now is Daisy Cousens, a YouTube star with her own video channel. Daisy, how have the first couple of episodes rated?
Well, Andrew, the short answer is not well. The long answer is that the opening was actually the worst opening episode in the history of the franchise. It opened to just 397,000 viewers, which is lower than The Project on a good night. And that's particularly embarrassing given how enduring and how popular the Bachelorette and Bachelor franchises have been around the world for years and years and years. However, to add insult to injury, the second episode was rated even worse, just 253,000 viewers, for goodness sake. So it's not like, you know, fans of the show just sort of missed the first episode and thought, oh, I'll tune in the next week. Evidently, the first episode was so unpopular and so bad, it actively drove away viewers. You know, this is not good at all. But the interesting thing is, Andrew, that the producers of the show have come out and said they're not bothered about the low ratings and that the show is actually the most critically acclaimed series of The Bachelorette ever. I don't know who's critically acclaiming it. I mean, maybe it's sort of an inner circle of wokies who like that kind of thing. But either way, despite all the brave face they're putting on, I reckon there are a lot of head honchos clustered around a table now, clutching cups of coffee and desperately wondering what went wrong.
Critically acclaimed by people who, you know, in woke circles who wouldn't watch the show. That's the way the world now goes. Of course, you are now astonished. Explain to me why you are astonished that it's rated so poorly.
Well, look, the thing is, as you mentioned, Andrew, it's get woke, go broke. I mean, that's the simple matter of it. The show has been cast based on an ideology, which is the kind of, you know, queer bisexual angle is somehow sort of groundbreaking and new, and the producers were saying, oh, 2021 is the year to have that. Well, look, apparently not. And the problem is, Andrew, it's not that, the audience of The Bachelorette is inherently biphobic. It's not that at all. It's just the kind of strange, unique charm or fascination, I suppose, about that franchise is the heteronormativity of it. That's the way it's sort of been set up. It's, old-fashioned gender stereotypes, old-fashioned chivalry, roses, all that kind of stuff. It channels the sort of Cinderella fairy tale thing, which is very much based on men and women, not women and women or men as men, as bad as it sounds to say. So when you pull that out from under The Bachelorette, which is kind of a questionable kind of show anyway, as you said, it's a meat market, the whole thing just falls apart. That's not to say, however, that a bisexual version of The Bachelorette wouldn't work. I think there is a sort of niche audience for that. I reckon if you turned it into a web series, for instance, on YouTube and called it something else, that would open up the international market, and it could do very well. I think the format works, but shoving it into sort of mainstream television under the guise of The Bachelorette and expecting long-term fans of the series to watch it is not going to work. It's quite lazy, and it sort of undermines the format generally, when, as I said, I think it could work if it were dressed up slightly differently.
Well, I think if you're running a dating show, essentially, then you've got to give people, you know, the women want to identify with the women, the men want to identify with the men, they want to put themselves in the picture, and then when you narrowcast it to a very, very particular identity group, what do you expect? Daisy, the cancel culture. Last night I talked about how South African wicketkeeper Quinton de Kock was forced out of the South African team of the World Cup for not bending the knee to the Black Lives Matter movement. But late today, news on that. De Kock, whose career then looked absolutely finished, $100,000 contracts gone, has now said sorry, he will kneel, he's always supported the Black Lives Matter movement, his own family is mixed race, he's going to do it, terribly sorry. He just didn't like to be told what to do. The order had come out of the blue, and now he's seen the light. Another victory for the cancel culture, Daisy?
Sadly, I think so. This is really, really disappointing. I mean, I was very admiring of him, you know, standing up to the woke mob, because it is very hard to do. They are particularly litigious and particularly spiteful. So it is really sad that this big sort of apology has come out. And he was saying he was worried about how it was affecting his pregnant wife and his family, you know, all of which I understand. The mob is particularly intimidating. But the thing is, he did exactly the wrong thing to make the mob back down. You must never, ever apologise to the woke mob, because it doesn't stop them. It only encourages them, because it means you've got to rise out of, they've got to rise out of you, and therefore it sort of enables them to continue with their sort of campaign of misery upon you, because they know they can get you. Apologising is the worst thing you can possibly do, as is sort of deleting something. That's another thing you should never do. Never delete anything the woke mob is upset about. So in trying to sort of please everyone and get them off his back, he's just completely shot himself in the foot, because now they're going to behave in an even worse way. So this is very, very unfortunate. It's totally the wrong decision. People really need to learn, don't apologise, it only encourages them.
Daisy, young man, got a wife, $1 million, $2 million career, going down the toilet. You got to bend your knee. Daisy Cousens, thanks for your time.